Because you would rather believe a pretty lie than an uncomfortable truth. That is how Gypsy is able to get away with continuing to spread this false narrative about her mother abusing her. It's uncomfortable to believe that a child would fraudulently portray Munchausen syndrome onto themselves without their parent knowing. However, there is evidence now that proves that when Gypsy had a seizure at 6 years of age, they thought that she was going to be paralyzed from the waist down. She started to get feeling back in her legs, and instead of telling her mother, she decided, I'm going to keep this to myself and pretend that I can't walk so that I can get all the attention. And it worked. Her mother continued to take her to doctor after doctor after doctor, confused as to why her daughter was unable to walk. There is also evidence to prove that Gypsy herself was not eating, complaining about fearing certain foods because she didn't want to eat, which is problematic for a young adolescent growing because they're not getting enough nutrition, which is the reason why she had to get the G-tube inserted. She was struggling to swallow, she was having gag reflexes, acid reflux, and some of these behaviors have started to resurface now that she has been released from prison. Behaviors like pretending to be sick to continue to garner attention, especially from Ken. In this week's episode of Life After Lockup, you see Gypsy pretending to faint to garner attention from Ken. You also saw in last week's episode where he was concerned about her not eating enough anyway. Gypsy likes this sort of attention. This was the same attention that she would get from her mother. She got the concern, the care, the empathy, the sympathy. There is a lot going on psychologically with Gypsy, and I am not a psychologist. However, I do think that she should see one. From an outsider's perspective, she is reverting back to old patterns, old behaviors, and this can become quite dangerous very quickly, especially with a newborn baby in her care. We're already starting to see small hints of jealousy anytime Ken is spending time with Aurora, especially on camera. And another thing that I have noticed is Gypsy is starting to emotionally abuse Ken using his dog, Parker. This constant complaining about the dog because it's something that Ken loves probably more than he loves Gypsy. And when a narcissist thinks that there is something that you value more than your relationship with them, they will do everything that they can to take that away from you. I think baby Aurora is in danger, and I think Parker is in danger, and I think Ken is in danger. I even believe that Ken believes that he's in danger. She mentioned in this week's episode that her and Ken are not spending as much intimate time together, and I don't think that that's an accident. Ken has become increasingly concerned for his own welfare around Gypsy. He made a comment in the episode when she suggested that she would hide their phones, which I think is weird, whenever they were at their baby moon or whatever. And Ken was like, no, that's crazy. What if there's an emergency and we need to call the police? He knows they were getting ready to go to a secluded location in the woods somewhere, and he had genuine concern for his own safety. However, but because they had a camera crew, he probably felt a little at ease that nothing would happen, especially knowing that the camera crew would need to come back. And yeah, you know how that would have worked if the camera crew came back and suddenly Ken was missing. I think Ken is purposely trying to minimize any intimate encounters with Gypsy so that he doesn't become any more emotionally involved with her than he already is. Most men love sex, so the fact that he's not even trying to get it from her says that he's already checked out. also in that scene where she's like pretending the bed is too tall and she needs help getting on top of the bed. He like lifted her up, and instead of embracing her with hugs and kisses and affection, I think that that's what she wanted, he immediately went and started giving her belly kisses, giving attention to the child, not to her. I don't think that she liked that very much. But that was another sign for me that he has checked out of the relationship with her and he is solely focused on the care of his child. I fear for Ken, but Ken put himself in this situation. He knew that he was getting involved with a convicted murderer. However, him and Ryan both want to believe that Gypsy had no other choice. This pretty lie that she did everything that she possibly could to get out of this relationship with her mother. The truth is, she didn't do everything that she could. And I think Ken is starting to see that she's a little bit more dangerous than he initially thought. You can only mask who you really are for so long. And her mask is slowly starting to fall away. Even the mask that she tries to portray to the public is starting to fall away. She's becoming increasingly more desperate for attention, and this is not going to end well. Gypsy will reoffend because she has not taken care of her own mental health. She has not taken any steps to better herself as a person, to heal herself emotionally, mentally, psychologically. In fact, she believes that there's absolutely nothing wrong with her and what she's done and what she's doing now. She even went as far after the unaliving, when Nicholas was crying, to tell him, "Why are you crying? It's not gonna bring her back." Like, who does that? He had genuine empathy, and Nicholas had genuine empathy and remorse for what he had done. And the only thing Gypsy could think of was, it's not gonna bring her back. She has absolutely no empathy or sympathy for anyone. I don't even know if she knows how to. I don't know if Ken is still with her or if it's only about Aurora right now, but I would suggest that Ken get an attorney and get that baby and himself far away from Gypsy as quickly as possible. Tell me what you think in the comments, because I have been so far behind with what's going on with her. I did also see a live where she was like complaining about Aurora not sleeping and interrupting her precious bath time. I think that all of these little passive aggressive complaints about motherhood, dog ownership, mom life, I think that they are all a sign that she is already over this little phase in her life that she wanted so badly, and she's ready to move on to the next thing. But tell me what you think. I'd love to hear what you think. Let's have a conversation. I think Gypsy is dangerous. I think Ken is in danger. I think that baby is in danger.